just get a little update from how things are going with you, because we know in startups things change from day to day.
Certainly from week to
So,
week.
are there any updates from last week?
No, no, no.
Okay, so no updates, no new ideas, no Yuyas or YouTube people or anything like that?
No, no, anything new.
Okay.
Okay, there's something I want to talk to you about this session.
Yes.
We have some, we would like to split it in like two parts. The first, what you have to talk about what we discussed last time about the social strategies and
Yes,
monetization.
and the monetization.
And we would like to ask you about promotion in social networks and something about keywords like SEO and ACO strategies, and how and marketing plans for applications. I don't know if Jairo talked to you or something about this, but
well, what Jairo and I talked about was something a little bit different.
Is this for, so you want to have this session focused on two things, so the monetization and social strategies, and then you want to talk about marketing on social networks. And is that for this particular game or for another project?
No, it's like it's for one project that we are doing here, but not in SmartSoft, but in the cluster. It's like to develop some general strategy for applications, for mobile applications. So we would like to have some insights from you, so we can develop that generic strategy.
Sure.
So we would like to know about social marketing on social networks, promotion, and marketing plans for applications. Also, of course, for marketing plan, it contains promotion in social networks and celebrities, everything that we have talked about. But maybe we can.
Yeah, we can go back over. We have presentations on these two topics.
Okay,
not presentations, but talking points.
They were presentations we had previously.
They did. We actually presented them previously.
But what we can do is we can go beyond presentation. We can use presentation as the core.
We're taking that presentation as the basis for what we are trying to do.
Yeah.
But we like to go deeper on promotion.
Yes, that's what we'd like to do.
And the marketing plan.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, that's what I was wanting to talk about before starting.
Yeah.
Yeah. One moment. Let me see here. This was your presentation.
Yeah.
Marketing for success. And this other one.
Yeah, we can start with the marketing part.
You want to do the marketing first?
Well, I think he mentioned that, right?
Okay.
Is that what he mentioned?
Yeah. So, do you want to start at the very beginning?
Yeah. I mean, this is the user acquisition and engagement, right? I don't know whether that's what. So, Juan?
Yes?
There was an earlier presentation that I had given on marketing, and we had talked about user acquisition, engagement, retention, monetization.
Yes, I remember that.
Right. Yeah, so I think that might be still a good framework for discussion.
Yeah.
But we can focus more on the marketing aspects rather than the metrics aspects. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is that all right with you?
Yes, that's good.
All right. So, are we sharing screen?
Yeah.
Okay,
great.
Can
you see the screen?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, so kind of to recap the presentation from last time, so we're really talking about these four areas: acquisition, engagement, retention, and monetization. And as you can tell, for example, with anything, I mean, this is just in marketing strategy in general, there's always a mix of channels that you're going to use to promote your game, right? So some of the promotion is going to be done through organic search, some of them through paid advertising, some of them through in-app referrals, some of it from word of mouth or social. And each of these channels, and then there may be multiple others that we can talk about in an integrated marketing strategy. And that's generic no matter what product you're talking about. Obviously with games, there's certain types of techniques, there's certain types of strategies, there's certain types of social engagement kind of mechanisms that are commonly used, and we can cover those. So going on to the next one, I'm not going to talk about the cost per install, etc. But let's talk about the bullets. I mean, from a marketing perspective. Obviously, with anything that you're marketing, you're going to target an audience, right? And so everything that you craft, every strategy for marketing, just about for anything, so it's very, very generic, is it always starts with your target. You know, who are you speaking to? Who are you targeting? Who's going to buy your game? Who's going to engage with your game? Who's going to play your game? Who's going to refer your game? And so the idea of not just focusing on the person who's going to engage with your game, but then the people that person then engages with, which is the whole social engagement piece, is sort of the holy grail of marketing, right? And in the old point of driving up user engagement, game usage, game playing, and the whole experience aspect of it, and building the community around that experience aspect of it, is really what drives up not only the download, the installation of the game, but then further on the stickiness of the game, how long people stay with the game, how often they come back. All of these are related to marketing strategy. I think in previous discussions we've really more so focused on the game design and game mechanics aspect, which can drive downloads and stickiness and so on. From a marketing perspective, the same kind of thing happens. There are various campaigns that you can run on various mixes of these channels to promote game installation and game engagement, right? But always the first question is, who's your audience? So we talked a little bit about that in the previous conversations, and we talked about targeting women from ages of 18 to 24. So that profile, that age demographic, and that's gender demographic, is going to drive a certain profile. And what I always like to start with when I'm speaking with clients about target audience and target segmentation, start painting a picture in your mind of what that ideal person looks like. And when I say looks like, not physically looks like, but what their attributes are. What do they like? If you look at the world of social media, it's such a rich world because there's so much data available about your target segments. Most everyone has these days a social media profile, multiple social media profiles. So you might want to look at Facebook profiles, Twitter, Instagram, all of these different social media channels, and look at the profiles of 18 to 24-year-old women. And look at not just their game playing attributes of what kind of games they play or like or share, but look at their other likes. So, you know, if you find that most 18 to 24-year-old women who play runner games or adventure games or what have you, think about the categories and then think about their extended profiles. Are they then into certain types of adventures? Do they go on certain types of trips, for example? Or do they buy certain types of things? Do they like certain types of objects, if you will? You know, what are their shopping habits? I mean, all kinds of data from likes and dislikes can be aggregated, in essence, to define this target segment from a perspective that's not just about game playing. It's about the larger profile for these women and understanding what their likes and dislikes are, and then developing your social media campaigns that look at those likes and trying to tie in some of those attributes if it is relevant. As always, that key word is relevance, because if something is not relevant, then it won't make sense, right? So the idea is, A, you want to know what that profile looks like. B, you want to look at how you can tie in some of those profile attributes into your game as well as your campaigns. And then C, making sure always that whatever you do, it is of the highest degree of relevance. If all three of those exist, I can guarantee that your stickiness, whether it's in the game playing or whether your campaigns are successful, will all result in a fairly high degree of success because of the relevance and because you've taken the time to study what makes that target audience unique and what's the overall profile of that segment. Am I making sense? Do you have any questions so far?
Yes, like okay, it makes sense. I have some questions.
Yes, absolutely.
You have used some information from Flurry to present like what people likes the most, games, they like adventure, strategies, all that kind of stuff. But there is some tool or software that you recommend, like for making this target? I don't know. App Annie, for instance, offers intelligence and data analysis, so you can pay and they give you some data about.
Absolutely. Those are great mechanisms to collect intelligence and information. But, you know, again, it just depends on how you want to spend your budget, right? I mean, you know, there a lot of information can be used even just using basic analytics, and also a lot of trial and error can be done. I mean, you can run various social media campaigns. It doesn't cost you very much to run these campaigns, and you can look at the results of these social media campaigns almost by testing basis. You're still fairly early on in your process, such that, you know, maybe it doesn't quite make sense to run a social media campaign just right at this moment because you don't really have the game just yet. But certainly what you mentioned as far as acquiring social media intelligence from third-party sources, that's a great way to begin, and at least getting some aggregate information about, like you said, do they like adventure games, do they like strategy games, do they like runner games, what kinds of themes even in those do they like? I mean, is space going to be a strong, likable theme among 18 to 24-year-old women these days? These are things that you need to think about, because wouldn't it be a shame to go through the entire process of creating a wonderful game that deals with space only to find out that your 18 to 24-year-old women really don't care about space? That would be a tremendous loss of time, you know, and effort on your team's part. So I think wherever possible to have that intelligence and to use that intelligence wisely in the creation of your game is always a good idea. So for now, I would say that that's a good place to start. If you have access to those intelligence and analytics, absolutely, I think use those and build those into your game design.
Right now we don't have access, but I was asking you to see if you can give us some, okay, like you recommend someone that isn't expensive, or maybe where we can find some free data to give us some perspective to start building that profile from the user we want to target.
I'd have to get back to you. I mean, I probably can research a little bit of that for our next session. You know, off the top of my head, I think, you know, start with Flurry. Flurry is a great place that has analytics available, and a lot of this information is readily available. Do internet searches as well. I mean, this is sort of the cumbersome way to do it, but in the meantime, I'll research to see if there's anybody, like a third-party vendor, that specifically sells this kind of information and what that might cost. I can certainly put some effort into researching that. But, you know, I think, again, not to be too academic about this either, because you can go overboard. It's always good to start with intelligence, but, you know, I can tell you from being years in strategic planning, you can get just lost in the world of intelligence and just saying, oh, we got data about this and data about that, and I don't know if you've heard of
data.
Yeah, you get stuck in the world of data, and so the idea is actionable data, right? So you just don't want to get stuck in just saying, well, we have data about this, that, or the other. It's about what is useful to you. So again, there are multiple people that I'm sure can sell you lots of data about 18 to 24-year-old women. But I think, you know, even just getting a general sense, like going up on Facebook, and, you know, I think you can search for various things, even just using Facebook Analytics, for example. You can look at, you know, what a certain segment likes to do on Facebook. You can, create focus groups, even if let's say, for example, you're always going to launch in your immediate geography, right? So look at women in Colombia. This is, again, focus groups are a very, very strong way to get information that is much more regionally specific to you. So say, for example, you might go to a university, okay, which is a great place to find 18 to 24-year-old women, all congregating in one place, and do a casual survey. I mean, you can walk up to use people of the same age. So if you have women team members that are younger, have them go out to universities and build a questionnaire and go and walk around and say, we're building this game. Do you have a few minutes to answer a few questions? And you might have, say, 5 questions saying, do you like this game? Do you like that game? What kind of games do you play? Do you play any games? I mean, start with the first obvious. Do you play any video games? And if they say yes, do you play mobile games? Do you play runner games? Do you play this? Get a general sense of what kinds of games they might play, and then you might say, and what else do you like to do? Do you like to travel? Do you like to shop? What do you shop for? All of those kinds of things. Do you have a Facebook profile? You don't have to get their information, because, again, the idea is not to be invading anyone's privacy, but you want to get a general sense of these women and what makes them interested, and build those into future campaigns that you're going to think about. So say, for example, I'm going to throw an example out. Earlier on, this in the game design, you're going to be incorporating those elements into your game. Later on, after your game is fully developed, you might want to think about what kinds of social media campaigns. So maybe this might be if you find that 18 to 24-year-old women are going to Shakira concerts, okay, in Colombia, and that this is something they're crazy about, or that they're doing something else that related to a certain celebrity. That's a cue for you saying, wow, maybe running a social media campaign, if we could get the endorsement from a person who's a concert goer, or that you're running a social media campaign around the time of someone's concert, for example, and you say, well, there is a greater likelihood that you're going to get these people interested in what you're doing by engaging them on your Facebook page. So at the time of the concert, saying, buy tickets for the concert. Oh, and by the way, there's a game surrounding this, and join us in this campaign. So there's ways that you can tie thematically what you're doing on social media campaigns with whatever your likes of your target audience is. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Again, this ties into building campaigns with strong partners. So the third bullet here that I mentioned, this is along the same themes. If you find that 18 to 24-year-old women have certain strong likes, and those likes are giving you cues, signals, into partnering with somebody. So it could be maybe a shoe manufacturer, maybe a concert, like I said, a celebrity. Maybe it's certain types of I don't know, movies that they might like or something. There may be ways for you to partner with those people that are also trying to promote those same kinds of targets, because they are also targeting the same 18 to 24-year-old women in mind. There may be an ability to partner and co-market yourself with these partners to extend your reach into a common element. So again, partnering, not only running your own individual campaigns, but also building your campaigns with strong partners. Those are 2 great acquisition and retention strategies that you can build in from a marketing standpoint. On engagement, focus on engagement to increase rank. I would say, oops, lost my place.
Excuse me, Raika, give me 1 minute.
Sure.
Una pregunta, él está hablando de que tenemos que conseguir un socio que nos impulse la aplicación, y está hablando de hacer un estudio de lo que le gusta a todo el mundo, ¿cierto?
Es que estamos hablando en términos generales, cómo debería ser el proceso de mercadeo para una aplicación. Ya no enfocado a modo, enfocado a cotizaba nada, sino en términos generales. Pues primero ella nos dice, hay que definir el mercado objetivo de forma muy detallada. Tan detallada que nosotros debemos saber qué le gusta a la persona a la que estamos apuntando, más allá del juego, o sea, saber qué grupos musicales, qué está de moda entre edades, etc. Para tenerlos muy bien enfocados. Para esto, o sea, para la parte de juegos y todo esto podemos usar Flurry, pero para esto además podemos hacer focus groups en Facebook o encuestas en universidades.
Exacto.
Luego hay que incorporar eso dentro, obviamente, dentro del proceso de game design y dentro del proceso de desarrollo. Con esto se pueden, o sea, cuando nosotros hicimos el trabajo juicioso de perfilar a los usuarios, podemos saber qué les gustan. Y sabiendo qué les gustan, podemos buscar un aliado, un aliado fuerte que esté dentro de
Sí,
lo que les gusta. Empresas, marcas, celebridades, ¿sí? Y con esto podemos construir campañas exitosas.
85% of 18 to 24.
Okay,
So-
Raika. Sorry.
we were looking at some aggregate information on 18 to 24-year-old women, and it looks like there's 100 million of them, 100 billion of them, $100 billion market worldwide. Is that worldwide? Just in the U.S., it's a $100 billion market for 18 to 24-year-old women, and each of them has about a $13,000 annual discretionary spending budget.
But that's including men.
And that's it's including men as well. Okay, so we'd have to look at women and, you know, just the 18 to 24-year-old bracket, men and women, is a $100 billion market here in the U.S.
85% of them have smartphones.
85% have smartphones,
And they spend an average of 37 hours per month using apps.
and they spend 37 hours per month using apps. So these are really interesting statistics because you'll see that they spend a lot of time on their smartphones. So the mobile video game segment is very strong, obviously, with that. And then the fact that they spend so much time using apps is also a good target, right? So from just a general segment target, both men and women from the 18 to 24-year-old demographic, that's a pretty strong statistic. But
there's a lot of money.
There's a
They definitely have the device.
Right. They have money and they're engaging with the smartphone as the key device. So that's both good. But I think those we kind of knew sort of anecdotally, we kind of understand and can expect, and it just affirms our expectations that that would be the case. What really is critical, as Juan, you were explaining to your team, which was, you were right on the money and you understood me perfectly, which is that the engagement mechanism is really all about understanding their likes and dislikes, and then combining that knowledge in terms of into not only your game design, but then also your game campaigning. Okay.
Okay.
So let's see from this slide. I think the notable here is that once you have your game developed, a lot of the major game developers are spending a lot on install ads, right? So, you know, advertising is a very common way, but it is not cheap. It's you know, it's not a cheap method, but it does allow you to target the right users, right? And so from an advertising vehicle, Facebook, for example, makes a lot of choice as a starting point. If you have the advertising budget for it, and if you can gain a budget around it, then certainly Facebook would be making a lot of sense in terms of having an advertising campaign to boost installations. But not just Facebook. You might want to try other channels like YouTube, Twitter, Yahoo, or even Instagram, for example, because there's ways that you can share artwork, you know, or other things as you know, through the Instagram channel. Any questions about this?
Yes, I have some questions here.
Sure.
We have the game. We develop the game and we want to promote the game on Facebook. We have some money and we want to spend targeting. We have the users. We have done a very good work profiling the users, and we know exactly which users to target. Now in Facebook, how is the better way to do that promotion? You can get one image or videos or a combination of both, or messages, or how do that? How can we get this strategy to be successful with the content that we can generate?
Hang on one second here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You know, that's a very good question, and honestly, you know, my gut feel says that, well, as you probably the lower entry point would probably be an image ad, not a video ad, right? I mean, the common knowledge will tell you. I mean, if you look at the progression of Clash of Clans, for example, they did not start with running expensive video ad campaigns, you know, when they first started out. They probably started out pretty inexpensively through just messaging through various channels. They probably used more effective ways like using bloggers and influencers to drive. So we were talking about influencers last time, and we were saying, well, find the right influencer with the right kind of reach for you. That's a better way to start, you know, more inexpensively than saying, okay, well, now we're going to spend our dollars on Facebook. I would say Facebook is definitely a good channel, but if you look at the cost per ad, that's huge. I mean, you know, it's a lot of the cost for acquisition or the cost of install is going to run up pretty high. If you're looking at $8 to $10 per game install and you're trying to build hundreds of thousands of gamers, you do the math. You know, if you wanted to have 100,000 users and you're willing to spend $8 per install, and you wanted 100,000 installs, that's $800,000. So, I mean, advertising is something that can just run you up. You know, you can eat up your entire market budget and exceed your marketing budget. Yeah, it's more cost-effective to do a guerrilla marketing sort of technique, which is much more inexpensive. It's not going to cost you as much. So for your stage of company, I would not even think about purchasing ads at this point. I would start looking at ways to engage and build community by user-generated content and by company-generated content. So two ways. You can release videos and trailers and put screenshots up, tips and tricks on how to play the game, what's hot, what's not, you know, and then as far as user-generated content, you have so many plays like EveryPlay and other recording mechanisms where users can record their runs, and then you have these weekly contests, and you say, oh, our weekly winner was so-and-so, this user on Facebook, put it on Facebook, right? Again, using social media, but more the guerrilla marketing sort of technique and not necessarily purchasing these ads at these astronomical prices. I think, you know, you should wait until you get to a size of company like a Clash of Clans where you now start, you know, running these expensive video commercials and whatnot in order to engage audiences. That's, you know, a much more advanced level of marketing. So my advice is, it's a great thought, but you'd have to have a pretty big budget in order to even think about something like that. So it's much more friendly and much more inexpensive to use humor as a way of doing something. So maybe you have it's a sharing thing, right? People find things that are funny shareable. How many of us have clicked on silly YouTube videos about babies or cats or dogs doing silly things? You know, a cat that happens to fall into a hamper, and, you know, silly things. Or, you know, recently my children were having such, I mean, they were laughing so hard, they were practically in tears. There was all this video about some kittens or cats trying to jump from one surface to another surface, and they were falling flat and hitting themselves. They found that hugely funny. I mean, hours and hours looking for funny videos, right? So I think there are ways that you can generate, even if you were to generate video content around your game, you might want to think about ways that you can create funny things or little stories about your characters. So once you start introducing characters into your game, you have something about a story of why that character ended up in space to begin with. Or that he's searching for he or she, you know, whoever the main character is probably going to be a she at this point, is searching for these cute pets like that you're trying to search for through your adventure. Those kinds of stories are really fun to post on Facebook, and you can reward people who like those stories. So say, for example, you have gamers that are on your Facebook page that are liking certain stories. You can send them a reward and say, oh, you know, because you liked all of this and you were the person who engaged with us most on Facebook this week, we're going to send you a little reward, and that reward can be a game reward. It's not a monetary reward, but it's a game reward. So they might get some, you know, a special key that unlocks a new level, or something fun, where now again you're bringing them back into your game, right? The whole point is to keep them coming back to your game, and whatever, quote, rewards, virtual rewards that you give them, in-app rewards, that's the way to reward your user base and your fan base on social media. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
So I think, you know, great question that you asked, and saying you've got to, you know, your target audience, you've got a certain amount of money, and now what do you do with Facebook? That's easier said than done, because it's going to be a very, very expensive channel right now for you. So use Facebook to build your community. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of building a community using social media, because these are the people, once they feel like they can engage with your game, that they're posting content onto your Facebook page, or they're posting things onto Instagram, and then you're or tweeting about their latest run and saying, hey, I got to the next level. And so a lot of hype and a lot of excitement and a lot of buzz that can be generated using social media channels, and you can harness all of that by encouraging them encouraging them to post their user-generated content, encouraging them to share that content, encouraging them to play against each other, so competitive game playing, you know, announcing the latest winner on your leaderboard, for example, and then maybe the winner of you know, certain a month's the winner of the month, if you will, or a winner of the year. I mean, all of these things can be extended out in time, and those higher level winners, maybe they're the ones that you can think about and say, oh, well, we'll send you a T-shirt, right? And anybody, T-shirt is an inexpensive way of producing something and saying, we'll send you a special T-shirt for our game. Or, you know, we'll send you a mug or something from our game. I mean, but that can be like a later stage if you really wanted to physically send something that was game related. Most of them, I would say, it's best to keep them coming back for in-app rewards. Any questions from you guys?
Yes, I have one question. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Sí, claro. I have one question. Like, what you are talking about is more like the ladder approach, what we discussed in one previous session. Like, you build your users slowly, and you create community, and you begin creating that users slowly, like in a ladder. But if we are talking about the trampoline approach, like when you get an investor, or you get some money from any source, and you want to give that jump to get your game in the top 25.
Yeah, you're talking about
which one is the best
trampoline version.
the best idea or the best approach to spend that money in marketing? Like,
well,
we can use Facebook or paid installs, but how we can use that money to build a successful marketing campaign?
Well, I mean, if you have, I mean, again, it just depends on the amount of money that you can raise. I mean, a lot of, I mean, you can bet on it that running a video campaign on Facebook, depending on the reach that if you want to get to that top 25 spot or whatever, you're talking, you know, $1 million as your marketing spend alone. So if you're thinking about raising that kind of investment, and then using that investment, and now you've got the money to be able to do that, I'd say Facebook would still probably be your leader in terms of running an ad. Why? Because video games mobile video games lend themselves very well to that Facebook social media channel. There are others, of course. You can use YouTube as well as a way to target that same content, but in terms of advertising dollars, probably Facebook would be the best. And I would pick a video ad versus a print ad any day, because a video ad is much more dynamic, it's much more interesting, and there's a story you can tell. So you can build stories around your video ad. So yes, if somebody gave me and said, money is no object, I've got millions of dollars to spend just on advertising, that's probably what I'd pick.
video campaigns over, I don't know, screenshots or
Yeah,
posts.
screenshots are static, right? I mean, screenshots are wonderful, but you can post those screenshots yourself. You don't have to pay Facebook necessarily to post that. You can do that by, generating a community. Here's the other thing that's very interesting. One of the gaming companies we're talking to in Finland, they've got, how many millions of downloads at this point?
29.
29 million downloads at this point. They haven't even turned on their monetization. They're running ads through their Facebook pages and so on, right? Is that what we understood? And they're generating...
Well, on the site.
Oh, on the site. And through that, they're earning advertising dollars, like $20,000 a month in advertising revenue. They haven't even turned on the monetization for the actual game they're developing. So, I mean, this is, again, and this is a company that hasn't received investment or very little investment money so far. They've been bootstrapping everything. So I think there's a way that you can be intelligent about, and again, much of the download and installation buzz that they're generating is because they've created a really good game. It's a FPS game. So, and they're really good at it. The designers and the people that are on the team have a lot of experience creating this genre of games, and they're very good at it. And they've just created an amazing game, and that itself is the attraction. So, it's great to talk about unlimited marketing dollars and advertising dollars and being able to do everything under the world to achieve that trampoline effect. Again, coming back to the basics, a good portion of your time right now should be spent on getting the game design portion correct. And the way you get your game design portion correct is by learning more about your target audience and building the right features and the right game mechanics and the right kinds of mechanisms within the game itself to make it attractive and to increase your downloadability. The marketing campaign and strategic sort of integrated marketing strategy that you can use is, I would say, a little advanced for where you are at this point in time. It's good to be aware of these things, but to plan a marketing strategy right now for the stage where you're at, where you don't even have the game still, is a little premature.
Yes, no, we are not trying to do this strategy for this game. Like, it's more like in a general way. We are in this project I mentioned earlier. It's called Apps Creative. There will be some of the mobile apps created here in Cauca. So we are trying to make a plan for all the apps.
What kind of mobile apps?
Games, social networks. It's more like that kind of application. So we are trying to get to a generic strategy that, of course, they have to tailor to their needs, but that we're trying to build something that they can use. So when you told me define the target market, okay, that applies for everyone.
Yeah.
And building the community, that applies for everyone. And the campaigns on Facebook, that's why I ask in a more general level, not in this specific.
I see.
Maybe I didn't listen or I didn't understand.
I think
these people from Finland, how are they doing this campaign? You say they didn't get.
They're not doing any campaigns. They're actually running other people's ads on their site.
Yeah, they're monetizing.
And they're monetizing the number of downloads they have and the number of eyeballs they have and the number of impressions of people that are interested in their game, and they're monetizing other people's ads on their site. They're not doing any ads at all on their own for their game.
They're not paying on Facebook or
no, they're not doing it. They're earning ads for other people that are advertising on their website because they know that they have so many people that are attracted to their game and downloads and so on. They have 29 million downloads.
Yeah.
Okay.
The reason their game basically went viral, right, which is a really good thing to have, where they're getting about 1 million downloads they're getting around a couple million downloads every month, right? Right about now, they're getting close to 1 million downloads a month. So because they're getting 1 million downloads a month, they have all these people coming through. Because they haven't raised money, they aren't able to optimize their game for all platforms, so they're actually getting a very high churn rate. But even with the high churn, they have 300,000 or 400,000 DAUs, and especially on iOS, they're getting a higher retention.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening is advertisers are seeing that they have this very significant community, 300,000 to 400,000 people that are downloading. Sorry, 300,000 to 400,000 people that are playing daily. They have a lot of people that are talking about the game, and they like that demographic because it tends to be more male. In this particular case, 18 to 24 male. And the people that are in this kind of demographic that like shooters tend to spend a lot of money. They like, fast cars. They like guns. They like action. They like movies. And so people understand that 18 to 24-year-old demographic, and so they supply ads. And I think actually it's gone up. It used to be around $20,000. Now they're more like $30,000 to $40,000 a month, and they're just basically using that money to drive their company at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and so this is when I was talking to you about. I mean, I understand what you're saying: growth organically, the ladder approach versus the trampoline approach. Yeah. Absolutely, I can see. But here's the thing: I mean, with that game, for example, the virality of the game was their trampoline approach.
Yeah.
Where they did not gradually, organically grow their user base. Their user base grew exponentially or faster and faster because of the fact that their game was just so good to play.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, it came down to designing this game and understanding their target segment of 18 to 24-year-old males and producing a game that would hit that sweet spot of what they would be engaged with.
But it's also very tricky on a mobile device to make an FPS fun, right? Because it's a very small screen, and to make it multiplayer and all that, it takes a lot of technical prowess.
Right.
So they have a very strong technical team, and because of that, they were able to create something. Now, it doesn't work on all devices. A big part of their issue is that on Android, like most of the devices, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But for iOS and the areas of Android that it does work on, what they're saying is that it's currently the most fun game that exists in this area. So they saw that there was a weakness in the market, there was a gap, and then they decided by slotting this game in there, because it had done very well on PC previously,
Mm-hmm.
there should be those same people who want to play this on mobile.
Mm-hmm.
And they were right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So again, they were very intelligent about the way they approached the game, and they really concentrated in the earlier days on developing a great game that was going to hit home with an audience that they felt that there was a gap from a market perspective, that there was a gap in that particular segment, saying we're not seeing this kind of a first-person shooter game, and let's go and develop that. And they did that, and the success sort of speaks for itself in a way. And they haven't had to do any advertising on their own. They're just getting a ton of downloads.
And it's similar with Clash of Clans. If you look at Clash of Clans, they saw that there was really not a game like this. This type of game was very successful on the PC. And there should be a similar market in mobile. Obviously, they had to make some changes in mobile. If you look at the massively multiplayer online worlds like World of Warcraft, there's millions and millions and millions of people that play these games, and they're very addicted to them. When you move to mobile, you can't have the richness of experience because the processors were not as fast, the screen size is not as large, and there's just, because of the real estate, you can't do as much. But what they did is they took what was going on in the PC world, and they shrunk it down to something that could work in a mobile environment. And again, they were successful. So that's what you can do. A lot of people have been doing that. They've been looking at what works on a PC, and let's try to do something similar on mobile, but modify it in the right way so that it's fun on the mobile device. So does that make sense?
Yes. Give me 1 minute. I will talk to the team.
Yeah.
Sure.
Bueno, muchachos. Bueno, ya lo primero que le hablamos de cómo debería ser el proceso. Primero, hacer el target muy preciso para los usuarios y lo de los partners. Luego, tener ese perfil de los usuarios bien identificado nos permitirá hacer campañas muy exitosas en redes sociales como Facebook. Sin embargo, lo que ellos nos dicen es que eso es muy costoso. Hacer una campaña en Facebook para conseguir, no sé, 1 millón de usuarios es algo que puede salir puramente costoso. ¿Y qué es más recomendado? Crear comunidad, o sea, ir creando uno mismo una comunidad poco a poco y encontrar un buen influenciador. O sea, por ejemplo, para Philly, Yuya puede ser un buen influenciador, sin embargo, Yuya no va a servir para Movo, para Toquita, para nada más. Solo para Philly, entonces hay que encontrar esa persona correcta que nos ayude a conseguir una buena base de usuarios y empezar a crear comunidad. Entonces, ¿qué recomiendan ellos? Subir videos de la aplicación, screenshots, subir como tips y trucos de cómo superar algún nivel que de pronto estemos encontrando que sea difícil, poner este es el mejor jugador del mes, este jugador es el mejor jugador de la semana, cosas de ese estilo. Utilizar mucho el humor, porque eso es algo que se presta más para que la gente lo comparta. Entonces, ya podemos hacer una cosa como chistosa, ellos decían que videos de gatitos, de perritos, cosas que sean atractivas para la gente, como con humor, con eso podemos conseguir una comunidad que vaya creciendo poco a poco. Nosotros alguna vez intentamos hacer eso con HiMax, se llamaba HiMax bueno, ser soltero, algo así, y ponían cosas como chistosas y todo eso, y ahí fuimos construyendo una comunidad poquito a poco. Sin embargo, esa aplicación nunca vio la luz, pero pues ellos dicen que esa es una estrategia adecuada. Recompensar a las personas por compartir y dar me gusta, o sea, ver...
Lost him.
Okay.
He just went quiet.
Yeah.
He translates really well.
Hmm.
There's a lot of just high-level clipping and translate.
Very nice.
Mhm.
So you get
Completely gets it.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi, Luis. Juan?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
We don't hear Juan anymore.
Yeah, can you hear Juan?
No, hey, Juan? He's not muted. That's weird.
He's on mute?
No, yeah, he's not. That's weird. Let me send him a message to Skype.
I don't know why Google can't maintain an audio connection.
No, no, no.
It's just 3 people.
It's just silly. That's not one of Google's fortes. They should stick
They
to
should
what
just
they.
have, like, bundled Skype.
They should stick to what suits them best.
Yeah.
They're leaders in search.
Yeah.
They should stick to search.
I know.
The ads, whatever. Okay, fine.
That's how they make their money.
I guess so.
Without the ads, there's no money.
I don't click on any one of them, so
I don't either.
anyway. We're terrible.
Especially when they
We're
try,
terrible
they like
monetizers.
terrorize you by running around the web with them.
God, it's actually obtrusive.
Yeah, they just travel around. Ah, he's back. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, there you go.
Hello.
Oh yeah.
Seems we
Great.
have some problems with the network.
Oh, no worries.
Okay.
Okay, we can continue. You already talked.
Okay. The game
I
that they
think-
were
yeah.
looking at was actually called Counter-Strike, and so a lot of the team was from Counter-Strike, and they said, hey, if we take our technology and our know-how and we move it to mobile, what would it look like? And they came up with that, and it's been very successful. So in your case, you know, you'd have to look at something that was on the PC or the console maybe, where there's a large audience.
That's very successful
that's
in
very
this adventure
successful.
component.
Yeah. Or in runners.
Or in runners,
right?
Yeah.
And try to figure, you know, what would make. It's really all about that first thing that Radhika talked about, which is the target audience.
You start with that.
Right. You start with that, and the interesting thing is that it's a little bit tricky in this case, because if you look at women, women are now the largest and most active component on mobile. But if you go back in time, they weren't really a force in video games for the PC. So it becomes trickier. You can't really do it as easily.
It's not apples to apples
right,
comparison.
It's not apples to apples comparison.
Mm-hmm.
With casual games, you can, because casual games are more like board games, and so you can see what games women like to play. And you can also look back, and you can see, well, women like to play Tetris, women like to play solitaire, women like to do, you know, certain things, and then you can create a game around that. In this case, it's you don't have as many benchmarks to work off of, because I mean, outside of maybe Ms. Pac-Man, which is sort of a runner,
ancient,
but it's really, really, really a long time ago. But there are certain things in there that, you know, were popular. So you know, that's what you want to look at. What things have been popular, and how can you repackage it in a way that's original? And then once you do that, you can get a community. Then it's about fostering that community. A lot of game companies die because they don't foster the community. Especially, it's harder on mobile, because on mobile it's not like PC. In PC, you have a social framework. You know, there's already a social framework that you can build with chat and with real-time play and things like this. With mobile, it's more of the player with the game, right? It's not as much community. So really the key is building community. The celebrity one is stronger because the person is actually building a relationship with the celebrity. And so there's stickiness there, and then they'll talk offline with their friends who also care about the celebrity, about the game. So there's a stickiness because of the celebrity. But the thing is it's very critical to build that community. And once you have that community, it's very inexpensive to advertise to them, because you can just advertise in-game, and there's literally no cost for that. You don't have to go out to a Facebook. You don't have to use a third party. You have full control. So something that's very critical is that technologically, so from a technical perspective, you want to make sure that you can push your own advertising in-game, right? That's something that is very inexpensive for you, but it can be very expensive if you don't build it to start with. So again, you want to have that as a technical specification for your product, because once you have that community, you can advertise certain things to that.
Like cross promotion?
It can be cross-promotion for other games, right? Like if you're talking about a whole group of games, right? Or a whole group of apps, you can definitely do cross-promotion. But you can even just promote it in the game, right? Like you can have a special sale on, like they do it all the time in Clash of Clans. In Clash of Clans, they'll say, hey, if you purchase a certain number of gems right now, you know, there's a sale going on. Or if you play right now, you will get twice as much elixir and gold than you would normally do. Or they'll advertise in a lot of different games specials for holiday gear. You know, holiday hats, holiday, you know, special power-up or something like that, or food, or whatever it might be. So being able to create community that way between you and the player is important. But then also, like Clash of Clans or many companies have done, player to player, right? With that group concept or clan concept. So having those mechanisms within your game so that people can work together or they can do multiplayer, it creates a lot more stickiness, creates a lot more community, and then you can do a lot more in-game advertising.
Yeah.
Which is very cheap.
The in-game advertising, I mean, I can't, if somebody told me you could choose between in-game advertising and Facebook advertising, I think I'd actually choose the in-game advertising because you're really more intelligently monetizing your user base and your user engagement within your own game. Going out to Facebook is great, but you're still going outside the game. The in-game, it's all in-game experience. So you're adding to the in-game experience, and then the ad is really relevant to whatever you're playing. So maybe you're promoting different things that you can purchase to get to the next level, or whatever, based on how your user is doing, how the gamer is performing.
And the really good thing from a funding perspective and exit perspective is your product is much more valuable if you have a game. Because those people, because you can have metrics around their stickiness and what they do, and you can relationships, and you can generate profiles in essence for the different people. That is the kind of information that advertisers want, or larger companies are interested in. So if you just say 50 million people download your game, that's one thing. But if you say 50 million people download the game, 20 million people are in our game community, that's much, much more valuable. And some of the early companies like Paint, they built these social communities in mobile, and they were able to get a very significant acquisition with just a single game, right? There's another company that you may have heard of, Bash Gaming. They did the same thing for iGaming, for gambling games, and they were able to get 165 million valuation with only $1 million. So the best way, not only from a marketing perspective, but also for fundraising and an exit potential, is to build a very significant community. That takes technology. Obviously, your technology has to support not only the advertising, but a very vibrant community where people communicate with each other, they communicate with you, and they feel connected to the game. And they just spend time on the game. They may not even be playing the game, they're in the community talking to other people.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So that would be, we've talked about that before with your game, that it's great to have these social channels. Not only social channels out to Facebook, out to Twitter, it's your internal social channel. That's much more important than the external social channel, just like what Radhika was saying. You need the external social channel to build additional users, which is obviously important, and it reduces your CPI. But having monetization comes from your existing users and their engagement. So there's a one-to-one relationship between high engagement and high monetization. You can have a lot of people playing the game, but nobody paying anything, right? The only way those users are typically going to start monetizing, and this is getting into the new topic of monetization, is where you have high levels of engagement. And that's why plans have such an incredible level of engagement, and therefore monetization, is because of the social aspect. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay, good. Any questions about that?
No. ¿Tus muchachos tienen alguna pregunta? No.
Okay.
See this.
So it looks like we have about 15 minutes left. We could, continue to talk about marketing, but we can also talk more about monetization.
Yeah.
Which topic would you like us to focus on?
Can you repeat? Please?
Yeah.
It sounds so.
Sorry. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, so what we were wondering is we could continue talking about marketing, or we could also talk about monetization. But the important thing is that there is a technical or a technology impact for both of these. You know, if you're going to be doing a community, you have to have the technology within the product that has, that enables you to build a community. And if you are going to have in-game advertising, you need to have the technology in the game that supports in-game advertising. So that's where in the planning of the game, you build these concepts in. One question we had for you is, do you have a functional specification for the game? Like what
A
are
functional what?
a functional specification?
I can hear you.
Oh, we were wondering if you have a functional specification. So from a technology standpoint, an architecture, what are the specific capabilities of the product? Usually when you do a game, you focus on game design, game levels, and a lot of these things. But from the technology that's underlying the game, you often will have a functional specification.
Okay, right now for game advertising or creating that community, we don't have nothing.
You don't have a
But
specification.
we are trying to are new at that. How to exchange virtual goods using Facebook, and we are trying to work in that social component and technology level, like here in the development team.
Yeah.
Is how can we can leverage that the social aspect, but from the architecture of the game.
Yeah.
So we are
But do you have a
right
written
now.
document about it?
Excuse me?
Do you have a written document, something that's
No, we
written
are
out?
just exploring that to learn how to do it, and then we plan to write those documentation.
Yeah, because we strongly recommend having a functional specification. So it's a written document that lays out the technology capabilities you must have and you must build. And then there's an architecture that goes with that that shows how those different components interact with each other, or how they're broken out into modules, or how they communicate with each other. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, that is very important.
Like we have a few minutes left. Why
Yes.
don't we finish this marketing session?
Good.
So we in the next session we can go back to monetization and social strategies for the project. We are working with you.
Okay.
Sure.
Good.
Thank you.
So let's see. I think maybe we can talk about online engagement strategies. I think that's really valuable to cover from a marketing perspective. We've already touched a little bit on building a community using social media. And we also talked about creating content not only on your side, but also compelling users to create their content, right? So one way that you can create content as a company is to create stories around your game for like the third bullet. It says engage community in anticipating your content, like for future releases. So if you have a video trailer about a new release that's coming out, or that you're going to be introducing a new character maybe into the game, and now you want to build a whole storyline around the character. These are all great opportunities to build content, build stories around this content, and share that on social media. The other thing is that we talked about is having users create content. So you can encourage users to post their tips and tricks, or that there was a specific technique that they used and it really worked, and then now they're able to get to the next level. Or that they found certain hard-to-find things. So, for example, the super cute pets that you were talking about, maybe there is a golden pet that is really hard to find. And I'm thinking, you know, that maybe that's a special pet now that is very, very difficult to find. And if a user finds that pet, now they can, you know, jump 2 levels instead of 1 level or something. I mean, there's something special that comes out of that. And the person that wins that or that gets that golden pet now has a chance to advertise the fact through their social media channels saying, I got the golden pet. I'm just throwing that out there as an idea.
Yes.
The other thing is creating contests. We also talked about, you know, the weekly winning run of the game, and having them being able to see their name on the leaderboard, their social handle name on their leaderboard saying that they had the winning run for the week, and that at the end of 4 weeks or so you say, well, this was the score that had the best run, so now that's the winner of the month. And then sending some sort of an in-app reward to that player, again, to encourage participation. Jordan also talked about multiplayer features. So Clash of Clans was really, really successful in engaging communities, not just multiplayer, building communities of clans and then having the clans sort of support each other, members of the clan support each other, and there was a sense of loyalty to this community. So you didn't want your team and your clan to lose. You would share your resources with them to make sure that your clan was always in the winning. So, I mean, that's something that leverages a couple of different things. Number one, it's a very clever way of engaging community. Number two, because human beings are so social by nature, and we have this sense of community already built into ourselves, we already have a sense of belonging. Say, I'm proudly, you know, I'm a person, I'm from Bogota, or I'm from Cauca, or I'm from Popayan, or whatever. I'm from this place, and there's a sense of community around the place where you come. Or I attended school at this university, so now I'm a proud, you know, alumna of that school. So there's, you know, human beings are just, we naturally lend ourselves to community building. And so to leverage that whole community process into a video game and build that and make it a whole community effort really is very intelligent.
And you see that in the name of the clan.
You see the names, you see exactly,
There's
character.
At the top, which was called North 44. And everyone, I don't know, everyone in the clan from the region, I believe it was the UK, but I'm not sure.
I see.
But it's you know, it's all the things that I've talked about, but people like to hang out with their friends. And another important thing is, and people, it was interesting, but when, you know, you would be playing Clash of Clans and you would spend time with your clanmates, what people would do is they would look, like I had mentioned, at the top 200 clans. And they would also search for their friends. You could search for your friend's name and find where they were.
And what clan they're from.
Search their clan. And people would literally spend hours not even playing the game. Not even playing the game. They're just looking at where their friends are, what are the cool clans, and then you can look at individual people's face. Right? In other games, you're not necessarily looking at the face. You're looking at what the person is wearing or what their level is, right? So this ability to see other players, see what they have, see what they've built, see what they're wearing, level they are, that creates a lot of visual, you know, where now it's not just a name or some text. It's a picture, right? Get to see that also encourages buying behavior, because you look at things like, hey, how did they get really cool food?
Exactly.
Or, you know, look at that really cool thing they have. I wonder where they got it from. And you can text them, right? You can text them, hey, where did you get that cool thing from? How did you go to that different world? Maybe you had to go through a wormhole or something to be able to get that pen. How did you get there?
So these are things that you start encouraging interaction with the people that are in your user community, your game community.
Even if it's asynchronous.
Even if it's asynchronous, exactly.
Which is at the same time, right? It's where you're chatting real time. But you can also have, and in Clash of Clans, you would have synchronous within your community, right? So within your clan, you have synchronous. But then it's asynchronous when you're attacking other people who are there with you. So you can use a combination of both synchronous and asynchronous. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
And those are, again, technologies, right? So if you're going to build in technology, some of the technology is going to be synchronous, some of the technology is going to be asynchronous. Social games tend to be completely asynchronous technology, right? I'm sharing something with you, but it's not real time. I'm looking at you, but I can only look at you when you're not playing, right? If you're playing, I can't see you. Or, you know, I can chat with you, but you're not going to come back to me instantly. There's going to be some delay. But then there's the real-time capabilities, and that creates a much stronger bond. And the funny thing is that's actually not in social games. Social games are actually less social than a lot of other games that aren't so-called social games because they actually have the real-time. And that's more of the PC game, or like Clash of Clans with the real-time chat capability. So anyway, some thoughts of ways to generate community. And community is the best way to encourage, you know, better marketing, better engagement, better monetization.
Right.
And it all comes back to technology.
Yeah, that's really important. We are taking notes.
Very important.
Yes.
Any questions?
No.
See if there's anything else that we talked about. Channel engagement, user recording mechanisms like or gameplay recording and sharing that, competing, showcasing their content. I think we've talked about all of that. Partnerships, we definitely talked about partnerships being really critical, not only in terms of branded content, but then you can also run social media campaigns in addition, you know, alongside your partners.
And those can be these.
And those, pardon?
Celebrities.
Yes, those can be celebrities. Those can be anything, really. Can be other companies that are selling things that are, you know, have some relevance to your game.
Like you might be familiar, there have been a lot of space movies recently, right? And because you have the space theme, there's that movie Gravity, right? I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it was very popular. And there's a new one coming out, which is also space-oriented. But if you can, within Colombia, figure out, you know, who are the right people that are working with distribution of the movie within your within Colombia or within, say, Bogota or Popayán, then you can reskin your game, right? Or you don't even have to reskin it in some cases. You just change the name and keep the game the same. But you know, that's effective in terms of taking something that's already getting a tremendous amount of exposure because their marketing budgets are millions or tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars. And then you can ride on that marketing budget to get people to play your game.
Any questions?
No.
These are, again, we talked about this in the previous presentation, co-branded games. Again, this is an advertising kind of thing, but it also is co-branding at the same time. It's co-branded advertising. And very similar to the movie. So there's Angry Birds, Star Wars, right? And so you can see that all of the Angry Birds characters given a Star Wars makeover. They all look like Angry Birds versions of Star Wars. I especially like the pig with the Darth Vader mask. It fits really well. Let's see. This is, again, coming back to what Jordan was talking about. It always comes back to the technology, the quality of the game. the gameplay, the animation, the cultural relevance, the customization, how you might be able to customize certain characters or elements of the game. All of these are technical capabilities. And so, Juan, you being head of the technical capability, you're in a very, very key role because you get to drive and shape the future of the game based on how well you can drive the technical capabilities of your team.
And actually, let me say something there, especially with partnerships, and for a big issue that a lot of games have, or a lot of companies have, is that it's hard to find a hit. And then once you find a hit, it's almost like nearly impossible to make another one. So what companies tend to do is they make sequels, or they reskin. And so again, from a technology standpoint, if your game is hard-coded to only do one thing, and then you need to make a sequel, or you need to, come up with a way to reskin it for a movie or for a partnership, well, that could be a lost opportunity because you don't have enough money to do it, right? You can say, well, I'd love to be able to reskin our game, but we can't do it because it's too expensive. And they'll say, well, why is it too expensive? Just modify the art. And then you don't want to say it, but everything's hard-coded. You can't just slot in some new art. It's not possible. It's basically the game has to be rewritten from scratch. So again, from a technology standpoint, you want to develop the game so that it's very easy to reskin, not only for partnerships, but also for sequels. If you look at Kabam, a big part of their success is that they have been able to reskin really what is in essence the same game and just make it look different, and sell each one.
Great business model.
You're taking the same game and you're selling it over and over to the same people or new people as well, with just some different art, but all the technology infrastructure is the same. So it's very fast to turn that around, much cheaper.
Actually, we're trying to trying to implement some good practices in software development, being very modular and being very document everything, and trying to avoiding that hard coding because we already been there. We have to adapt a game, and it took us like 2 months when we have only 2 weeks. We have been there, and we're trying to get better there. I have some questions.
Yeah.
When you talk about making this branding, co-branding, advertising, or getting that partner or that huge partner, is there any way you can get in contact with those partners, or is solely relying on your...
Well, it's easier for you in Colombia. See, the thing is that the community in Colombia is much smaller here, and your contacts might be more easily able to get to. The U.S. is a very big country, and most of those people are down in Hollywood. So because we're up here in Silicon Valley, we don't necessarily have the same contact, in that particular case. We have other contacts, but not necessarily with regards to movie or Hollywood. But in Colombia, it might be possible for you to reach them.
Because it's a much more regional distribution effort.
Yeah.
And so it might be easier to happen locally.
Yeah.
The other thing is that, it's easier said than done to have a branded partner come join you because, well, let's face it, right now no one knows about you. Star Wars did not just arbitrarily try to, accept and brand themselves with Angry Birds. Angry Birds had to become a really big game worldwide for the Star Wars brand to say, okay, we'll co-brand.
Yeah.
And so, the first step, as with everything else, you have to crawl before you walk, and you have to walk before you run. So you have to achieve that certain measure of success that is going to have people sit up and take notice. But that's, as Jordan said, sometimes easier to do in a regional level rather than on the U.S. scale, which is a much bigger market and it's a bigger stage to prove that you're in the West. It might be a little prove that you're big in Colombia states. And once you've become like the leading game developing company and the leading game, never mind the developing company, but the leading game in Colombia, then you can say, yeah, we're the leading game in Colombia. Maybe there are movie distribution people that are coming down and promoting the game in Colombia, that now you can partner with them at a regional level and achieve that measure of notoriety or success.
So that's, but again, once you need to have the confidence that when you do reach out to them, that technologically you can do this quickly, right? And inexpensively. So that's you know, for the success of the overall project. Now it looks like time, so why don't we stop here, and what we can do is we can continue on with monetization at our next meeting.
Okay, no, this session was really what we were looking for.
Wonderful.
I think this was very, very productive. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you. You're welcome.
In the next session, we can continue with, we talked previous session about social and monetization strategies for our space runner.
Good.
This one, sorry, this takes you off the plans. I just knew like an hour before the meeting that this was needed, so I apologize. But in the next session we can continue with the plan.
Sounds good.
Sounds very good.
Thank you.
Great speaking with you and the team, and looking forward to speaking with you, I guess, on Friday.
Okay.
Sorry, Jordan, when did you say what the next session was?
Did we decide what the
I
next
think it
session
was
is? Wasn't
Friday.
it Friday?
I had it on Thursday, we can change it.
Let me take a quick look.
Thursday. 2 to 3:30.
Oh, right. Sorry, 2 to
Thursday.
3:30 on Thursday. Yes. So
Thursday.
sorry, not Friday. It's on Thursday.
Thursday at 2.
2 o'clock Silicon Valley time.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, I'll send the invite right now.
Luis, entonces, ¿para cuándo quedó la otra?
El jueves a las 2.
El jueves.
Una invitación.
El jueves, listo. Vale, okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Gracias, adiós.
Bye.
Adiós, bye.
Bye, everyone.
Gracias.